Vieitas is a teacher trainer, academic manager and project manager, certified by Cambridge Exams, London Chamber of Commerce and Industry, IH London, Pilgrims, Inspire, and FGV. He is deeply interested in the interplay between educational management, course design, and methods approaches in the TFL context. He is mainly focused on helping teachers, private teachers, pedagogical coordinators, and school managers to have more quality of life and independence through a better understanding of education management. Oh my God, this is the guy. He's also a member of the Advisory Council and President of the Online Teaching SIP. Welcome, Julio.
Felipe, it's a real honor to be here with you all. Can you please use the chat and let me know how's the connection?
Julio, I think your internet is a little bit unstable. It's fading a bit. Julio?
Oh, yeah. With my connection.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Okay, so let me. It's normal for her.
Sorry?
Carly is saying it's normal for her, but some people are saying that they can't hear.
Yeah. Now it's fine. I think it's fine now. Can you say something?
Connection. Something over there. Oh, they're saying they can hear. Felipe?
Yes.
You can hear me, right?
Kind of. It's a little bit unstable. Both your sound and your camera.
Oh, that's so weird. Better now.
Some people are telling that they're able to listen to you. Some other people can't.
All right. Okay. So let me try to do the following, because I checked here. My connection is all right. It's like 300 mega, so it shouldn't be having this sort of problems. Okay. So they're saying that now it's okay. Now it's all right.
It is perfect now.
Okay.
Sorry
but
for that.
now, more than 800 people, so that plays a role in making the connection a bit unstable. So let me share my presentation here, and hopefully, let's see if by the end of the presentation or during the presentation, things get better. All right. So today,
Julio, I can hear you well. It's everything fine. Maybe those connections from other people are not good, but yours is perfect. I can hear you. I can see you well. Yeah,
oh, that's
you can
great.
continue.
That's great, great. So I'm relieved to hear that. So overcoming the fears of teacherpreneurship. Because before we kick off, let me talk a little bit about me. I'm Julio Vieitas. I've been in the ELT market for about 20 years. Now I live in Lagoa Santa, Minas Gerais. I used to live in São Paulo, in the craziness of São Paulo, but then I decided to live in the countryside. I've been teaching online for a while. First, 2000. Things were a bit wild. In 2016, I've been 100% online, and that's where I am right now, in the countryside of Minas Gerais, in the Midlands of Brazil. I have a great passion for education management. So I've been a teacherpreneur since 2003, when I opened my first school. and I've had several businesses in the education now. I'm a consultant, and I work at Julio Vieitas Consultoria Educacional, the company I founded. And I've helped, assisted, and been with more than 4,000 teachers all over Brazil, helping them and assisting them in becoming better teacherpreneurs and having more quality of life and more perspectives, both financial and in terms of quality of life especially. So before we kick off, we need to talk about the most entrepreneur, and that is fear. When you go to college, for instance, we learn how to work for the state or how to work for the private institution, but we don't learn how to work for ourselves. We have no clue of what marketing is, what sales is, how to sell our services. And that's something that we don't study at university. But when you go into the big blue world and have to sell our services, there is a ton of fear of not being successful, fear of being or going bankrupt, or fear of not yourself. But what's fear? What is the definition of fear? This definition here I really like, and that is a thought that you have when you are frightened or worried by something dangerous, painful, or bad that is happening or might happen. And that is the catch here, might happen. Fear sometimes is not related to something real. It might be related, and more related to things that we don't even know. And more often than not, it doesn't exist. So we're talking about unreal fear triggers and things that make I would say, frightened even being able to move a step ahead in our career. The first type of fear is called imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is the sensation that we have when we strongly believe that we are not good enough. Worse than that, we don't deserve the success we may have had so far. That means that we become afraid that sooner or later, one may discover that we are a fraud. That's the definition of the imposter syndrome. And people who suffer from the imposter syndrome, in my experience in the LT lab, tells me that a great deal of teachers have imposter syndrome. When I'm talking to teachers that would like to become private teachers or would like to have their own schools, and by talking to them, one thing that stands out is they say, Julio, I'm not good enough. And if I open a school or if I become a private teacher, the students are going to notice that I'm not good enough. And it's so interesting they have these voices because, as a matter of fact, they are excellent professionals. Sometimes they are the reference in their field, but they are reluctant to teacherpreneurs because they believe they are a fraud. So it seems to be that the chat is not working anymore. Okay, all right, because I was going to ask, have you met anyone that has those characteristics, that believe they're not good enough, even though they are like experts in the field? Or the chat's not open, so I'm not gonna ask that. But the imposter syndrome works like this. So a teacher professional with imposter syndrome may believe that he or she knows just a little bit compared to what people know. So there is this sickness called comparison with other people, and each and every people around this teacher is believed to know more than him or her. So if I had imposter syndrome, I would believe that everybody in my circle would know massively more about teaching, about sales, about marketing, about everything than me. When in reality, most people know about the same compared to what you know. But the problem of imposter syndrome is that it makes you, I would say, paralyzed against this unreal fear. The imposter syndrome is the opposite of the Dunning-Kruger effect. And the Dunning-Kruger effect actually is the sensation that you know it all. You are the master of everything. There is no one that knows more than you. Imposter syndrome is the opposite. It's like everybody knows more than you, when in fact you are very good in your field. You know, when people tell you that you are very good, your lesson was excellent, you are fantastic, most people, I wouldn't say most people, but a great number of people would have an answer such as, what? Why? Have you met me? I think the last one is the worst. Maybe they're just trying to be nice. So how many times have you met a person in our area that has excellent, I would say, characteristics and has received an amazing feedback, but this person utterly believes that they're just trying to be nice with me. So where does the imposter syndrome come from? It's important to know the origin of the imposter syndrome so that we can position ourselves. One thing for sure is an upbringing overly focused on effort. An upbringing in which if you do something, if you work very hard, it means nothing if you don't achieve the result. Certain types of upbringing have this trait, and ultimately they can cause individuals, they can generate individuals with the imposter syndrome. Self-esteem are also inclined towards having the imposter syndrome. History of bullying makes individuals, I would say, more inclined to having the imposter syndrome, and a lack of success model. So some people, they grow up without knowing what a success model is. So when they become successful, they don't know how to deal with that, and thus the imposter syndrome really plays a role. Some ways out of the imposter syndrome and into the right track of continuing professional development. The first tip is, do not undervalue your achievements. And this is so common. When we make a mistake, and many mistakes we make throughout our professional career, that's for sure, and we tend to become very sad, and we tend to resent those mistakes. We tend to really bring ourselves to a very bad place. However, on the other side of the coin, when we do amazing things, when you are very successful, when you are victorious in many aspects of our professional development or our professional career, we don't celebrate as much as we would, I would say, whip ourselves and kick ourselves up when we make some mistakes. So there needs to be a balance between how much we punish ourselves and how much we celebrate with ourselves. And most people undervalue their achievements. I remember when I was a kid, for example, and I was like 5 years old, and I was raised by very, I would say, tough people. My father was a very tough person. And I was very happy because I had finished the first grade. And I thought that, wow, okay, now I can go to college, I can go to university. I was 6 years old. I had no clue what I was doing, but I was very happy. And I told my father, look, I was approved. And he said, well, it's your obligation. You don't work. And I had to go to therapy to understand that, no, these things need to be celebrated. Because if you don't celebrate those things, you tend to become a very negative person with yourself. And you should be your best friend. Therefore, when you do something reasonably good enough, go and celebrate. Try to bring your self-esteem up by putting value on your achievements. Trust your colleagues' positive feedback. It's very common in my professional career to see teachers when I tell them, your class was amazing, it was a fantastic lesson, well done, and they don't believe it was good. They think, oh, you're saying that because you are my colleague, or you're my friend, or you like me. No, it's because it was very good. So when your friends, when your colleagues tell you you are very good at something, believe them, because it's probably true. It's probably true that you are very good. The only fact that you are here on a Monday investing in your CPD, that means a lot about you. So try to put value on that, and try to talk about the imposter syndrome with teachers in your circle. And it might be that you have it, might be that you don't, but talking about it is very healthy, and it's very good for your career. And in case you understand that probably you have it, talk to a therapist, talk to a professional, because those are the professionals that can really and truly help you overcome the imposter syndrome. You may talk to a mentor, a tutor, a teacher, trainer you can connect with. Talk to these people as well, but the therapist or a professional from the health area, these people are the ones that can really and truly help you with imposter syndrome. In case you have any questions, please use the Q&A button. There is a Q&A button here in this Zoom platform. You can ask your questions over there. Okay, so going on here. What is CPD? Gabriel is asking. Continuing professional development. That's the study you focus on throughout your career. And as a matter of fact, we never stop studying. We're always taking courses, always participating in events like University. So what you're doing right now is CPD, continuing professional development. All right, so continuing here. So I really like this chart here, this cartoon here. So there is this self-image that says, you're terrible at this. And this character says, that's why I keep practicing. Others are much more successful than you. And the reply is, those guys work hard, they inspire me. But you want to throw it all away and give up, right? Oh, several times a day, but then I push on. I'm trying to discourage you. My own brand says much worse stuff to me. It's interesting here that we are always going to have some negative voices inside ourselves or even in our circle. But it's very, very, very important that you retaliate those voices, but not paying close attention to them. Pay close attention, in fact, to your potential, to the things you can do. And I'm going to talk about the circle of people you can create, and that's going to play a very important role in you becoming the best version of yourself. Another great trap, I would say, a very negative thing that can happen to you is becoming a perfectionist. People who are perfectionists, they are not considered to be the most successful ones. On the contrary, people who are perfectionists are the ones that suffer the most in order to become the best version of themselves. And the problem here is there is the healthy perfectionist, and these people, when they fail, they learn from the failure and they try to improve themselves. So I'm not advocating that we should make mistakes all the time. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that mistakes are learning opportunities and we can learn from them. Maladaptive perfectionists or unhealthy perfectionists are people that when they fail, they avoid activity altogether, so that they give up and they quit and they never do that again because they believe they are a failure. They believe that if I'm not going to make it perfect, I'm not going to do anything about it. And other people, they become obsessed, but they don't learn from the mistakes. So they keep making the same mistakes over and over and over and becoming depressed in the process. So one may believe that the perfect teacherpreneurship is like this. It's a stroll in the park. It's a beautiful ride. It's a straight line, and it's not. Real teacherpreneurship is full of challenges and full of barriers to your development. And for each of these obstacles, there is a lesson to be learned. And perfectionists, especially the negative perfectionists, they can't learn anything from these obstacles because they believe that if they are making mistakes, it's because they are unworthy of what is ahead of them. My suggestion is, if you make a mistake here, step back and try to understand why you make that mistake, why you make this mistake or that mistake. What can you learn from that mistake? Let me give you an example. When I moved to São Paulo back in 2008, I worked for a company as a private teacher, and I made some mistakes when working as a private teacher in that company, because I was teaching students more elements related to grammar than communication per se. And that was a moment when I hadn't done myself yet. I was so focused on grammar, I was so focused on vocabulary, so focused on pronunciation that I didn't really pay attention to what my students really needed. And they needed, I would say, they needed grammar, they needed vocabulary, but they needed to improve their communicative skills. And the moment I understood the context in which their communication needed to be sharpened, I changed the whole set of my teaching expertise in that company. And that was a mistake I was making. I was trying to teach them, thinking about what was important for me, when in fact I should be teaching them, bear in mind what was important for them. And that's a mistake that was very good for me, because in that moment I learned that needs analysis is key. Interviewing your students and analyzing their performance and outcome, bearing in mind the goals we set in the beginning of the course, is paramount. Hadn't I learned that, I would be making, I would say, the same mistakes over and over and over. So it was very important. I made that mistake back in 2008 so that I could be a better and more, I would say, not only seasoned, but I would say sharpened teacher in my career as a business English teacher. If you're waiting for the perfect moment to become a teacherpreneur, you may have a problem, because there is no perfect moment to become a teacherpreneur. You have to, I would say, hit the road. You have to try becoming a teacherpreneur. I'm not advocating that you don't have to plan yourself, don't have to study, you don't have to prepare yourself. I'm not saying that, but as there is this very important writer in Brazil, o caminho se faz ao caminhar, and that means about something like you walk by walking. And there is no way you learn how to walk only observing people. You have to try to move your legs, and you're going to fall. By all means, you're going to fall. But then you have to learn from those mistakes how you can become a better teacherpreneur. And there are many obstacles here. First one is you have to understand who your clients are going to be, because if you want to teach everyone in your market, you may end up not teaching 100% anyone. You have to understand how to sell your services. You have to understand a little bit about marketing. You have to understand a tad about social media. You have to understand a little bit about personal branding. All these things are relevant, but you are not going to learn those things only studying books or taking courses. You have to make it happen. Therefore, there isn't going to be a perfect moment for you to become a teacherpreneur. You have to try it out. Maybe baby steps, but you have to try it out. So when thinking about being a teacherpreneur, one may tantalizingly believe that perfection is the way forward, and that couldn't be further from the truth. You are not going to be perfect enough. There is no perfect enough. When you talk about startups, there is this very interesting concept called MVP, or minimum viable product. So let's imagine that Felipe is going to launch a course. Felipe is not going to wait for the course to be perfect, because there is no perfection. Felipe is going to try out the market with a course he believes is, I would say, adequate to meet his or her students' needs. And then he launches the course. And this is the first version of the course. Then Felipe collects feedback from his students. And when he's launching the second edition, he improves the first. And then he collects feedback from the second edition and improves the third. Collects feedback from the third edition and launches the fourth. Notice that the fourth edition is better than the third, which is better than the second, which is better than the first. Until the moment that the market says, wow, the course is fantastic, there is no suggestion to be given here, we really loved it. And this is the moment that in a partnership with you, you can create something, I would say, really far from the initial stages, but you have to make it happen in the beginning. We call this prototyping. You prototype a course, but you launch it, and with feedback from your clients, we call that UX, user experience. It's the user experience or your student's experience that is going to dictate where you're going to sharpen, improve your courses, not you, your students. So there is this unrealistic perception of development that it needs to be perfect at first. I have to launch something only when it's perfect. And this leads only to frustration, procrastination, and ultimately giving up. Real CPD, real continuing professional development involves challenges, sacrifices, and above all, you need to surround yourself with the right people. And this is so, so important, because when you are in a toxic environment, when you are surrounded by the wrong people, they are just going to amplify your inner fears. They're just going to bring yourself down, and they're going to make your fears much bigger than they really are. There is this story about how they tame elephants. And the idea here is, when the elephant is a baby, you use a rope, a very strong rope, and the baby elephant cannot set itself free. But when the elephant becomes bigger, the rope is fragile compared to the strength of this huge mammal. But the elephant, as an adult, looks at the rope and sees something much stronger than it is. Therefore, the elephant doesn't move. This is so interesting, and this has such a profound meaning to my life, because sometimes in our lives we believe that things are much bigger than they are, especially when you're talking about fears. There is this very interesting experiment I would like to share with you. Unfortunately, this video is in Portuguese, but in case you don't speak Portuguese, I do apologize for that. Let me share this video with you all.
Um grupo de cientistas colocou 5 macacos numa jaula. No centro puseram uma escada e sobre ela um cacho de bananas. Quando o macaco subia a escada para apanhar as bananas, os cientistas lançavam um jato de água fria nos que estavam no chão. Depois de um certo tempo, quando o macaco ia subir a escada, os outros enchiam-no de pancadas. Passado mais algum tempo, nenhum macaco subia mais a escada, apesar da tentação das bananas. Então, os cientistas substituíram um dos macacos. A primeira coisa que ele fez foi subir a escada, sendo rapidamente retirado e surrado pelos outros. Depois de algumas surras, o novo integrante do grupo não mais subia a escada. Um segundo foi substituído e o mesmo ocorreu, tendo o primeiro substituto participado com entusiasmo da surra ao novato. Um terceiro foi trocado. Um quarto e, finalmente, o último dos veteranos foi substituído. Os cientistas ficaram então com um grupo de 5 macacos, que mesmo nunca tendo tomado um banho frio, continuavam batendo naquele que tentasse chegar às bananas. Se fosse possível perguntar a algum deles por que batiam em quem tentasse subir a escada, com certeza a resposta seria: não sei, as coisas sempre foram assim por aqui.
So I really like this experiment for a couple of reasons. Firstly, we are still animals and we still have this primitive instinct in ourselves to copy the environment. In the 50s and 60s, there was a great deal of experiments in psychology trying to explain the Nazism and the Holocaust. And why were we able to kill 6 million people? And it happened in such a developed country such as Germany. How could that happen? And one of the reasons is when we are in a certain group of people, and this group of people is prevalent in their beliefs, there is a great deal of other human beings that are going to utterly follow that group of people. And that's really severe when you try to understand the current state of affairs in Brazil and the world. It does make sense. But when you're talking about our context here in education, if you surround yourself with people that put you down, that don't stimulate your strengths, and people that only, I would say, increase your fears, you are going to have scant opportunities of development. On the other side of the coin, if you surround yourself with people that stimulate your potential, that bring yourself up, that allow you to reflect on your mistakes without making you feel such a loser, if you are in an environment such as that, you are going to have a proclivity towards becoming more successful, happier, and healthier in our career. Therefore, when you talk here about becoming the best version of ourselves, in the context of teacherpreneurship, one must try to surround him or herself with the right people. Some final tips. It's all, at the end of the day, it's all about motivation. But what is motivation? Actually, it's not motivation you should look for. You should look for inspiration. And what's the idea of inspiration here? Inspiration has 3 stages. The first stage is called evocation. And evocation is when you meet someone, when you read a book, when you know a story, when you're in touch with a poem that touches your heart and soul and makes you have new perception of life, because it makes you transcend yourself, transcend your limitations. It makes you believe that, okay, I can have this new set of skills because now you have a new mindset. And this transcendence can create inner energy that we call motivation. So do not look for motivation, because motivation is the result. Look for evocation. Look for this someone that can inspire you. Look for this book. Look for that story. Look for that poem. Look for that model that may help you to transcend yourself, and then you can become a motivation for yourself and an inspiration for other people. Connect, learn, and share. Those are the 3 most important words for you to become the best version of yourself and, as a matter of fact, to become a better teacherpreneur. This is the DNA of Brustiso, and that's why we are here today to help the way we can so that you can become your best version. Thank you very much. In case you'd like to connect with me, this is my Instagram. This is where I invest actually most of my day. And I have some tips and some content, some free content for teachers all over Brazil and all over the globe. And in case you want to connect with me, this is my Instagram account, my Instagram channel. And let me go back to the Q&A. It seems to me that there were some questions here on the Q&A. So let me see here. How can I talk to my school? Sorry, Margarete.
If you need help, Julio, to read it, I can help you.
Oh, it's right in front of me, if you don't mind. I'm okay with that.
Okay, you can know, because I think there are no questions. I'm sorry.
No, there are questions here. There are questions in the Q&A. Yeah. There are questions in the Q&A. First question is, how can I talk to my school about being overwhelmed? Well, the thing is, you can talk to your coordinator and you can express yourself following these guidelines. Maybe you can talk to your coordinator and inviting this person to reflect upon the workload you have, and if there is something that you can work together on in order to improve your productivity and your health, your professional health. If some of the activities could be done in a different way, if the time management could be better, invite these people to help you in solving this problem of being overwhelmed. And it's very common in our career. We are overwhelmed sometimes. I think it's almost like part and parcel of our profession as teachers. It's very, I wouldn't say it's normal, but it's very common. So invite your employers to help you in tackling that. I think it's very important that you involve them in this process. And most importantly, it's very important that you talk about it. Okay, next question here. Is this imposter syndrome related to anxiety disorders? We know that anxious people tend to have more imposter syndrome, because anxiety is the fear of something that doesn't exist yet, but exists in the mind of the person. So this individual keeps creating and recreating universes that don't exist. And sometimes, as a consequence of struggling with these unreal obstacles, this person may, I would say, label himself or herself as an imposter towards the victories and successes this individual may have had in his or her life. So yeah, there is a connection, but not always. So it's very important that we say not always. Imposter syndrome is really related to this feeling that I'm not worth it. I'm unworthy of my success, unworthy of my career. Next question here. Do you think about the English language? Do you think about the English language in the public school as well? So yeah, English teaching as a whole. How can we teach English as a global language, also local language, in order to inspire our teachers? Maybe you're talking about English as a lingua franca, so you can explain, you can tell your students that there isn't the right type of English. There are types of Englishes, and students are welcome to have, I would say, to be proud of their accent, to be proud of their regionalism. And at the end of the day, that boosts up their self-esteem and confidence. So that's something you should aspire to. Next question here. What can you do if our boss does not give us stimuli to develop? Try to find another boss, if possible. Because as a matter of fact, at times we teach our bosses how to be bosses. It's interesting. It's very interesting this. Sometimes they are in the position of being bosses, not because they are leaders, but because they are the school owners. They had money to purchase a school, something like that. And if you have enough psychological energy, you can help your boss to become a leader. But it's your choice. You can leave the school. You can try to find another school. You can try to find another leader. You can try to become your own leader as well. So that's another possibility. I would like to thank you. Actually, I've never known why I've always felt this failure, this fraud, and that took a toll on me. And now knowing about imposter syndrome, clearing my mind. Thank you. It's Nicole. It's very common, very, very common. Some statistics say that the two areas with highest cases of imposter syndrome are the health sector and education. It's really serious. My dream is to become a teacher trainer. I mean, teach trainers on how to teach. How do I start? Well, this is personal opinion, okay? I mean, it's a professional opinion as well, but related to Julio Vieitas. Take a CELTA course. CELTA course is an amazing, it's a life-changing experience, and it really opened my eyes and many other professionals' eyes towards teaching methodology. Growth mindset would be a good technique to put into practice. Yes, because growth mindset is all related to learning from experiences and seeing things from a perspective, from a learning perspective. So I really am adamant that it's great. Ana Claudia, it's not a question but a compliment. Thank you for feeding us with great inspiration. Oh, thank you, Ana Claudia. There was this author, I'm not gonna remember his name, Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson says, the pursuit of life shouldn't be happiness. The pursuit of life should be the legacy. And by the legacy, it means the positive impact we have on other people. And I'm very happy to read your words. So thank you very much. You have no clue how this has a positive impact in me, knowing that I'm somehow helping. Thank you very much. Do you have suggestions about language teacher motivation, especially in this time of anxiety? Reading per se, but okay, there is one. And in case try to learn more about Stoicism. Stoicism is a Greek philosophy that talks a lot about reinterpreting life. You can by writing. How can teachers recommend any book or author? Yes, I would say a very good book to start with. I think, and Jim Scrivener, Learning Teaching. Excellent. How to not be perfectionist when it comes to teaching for the first time? Well, that's the answer. How do you expect to be perfect? I mean, I've been teaching English the same, and we don't try to be perfect because it's impossible to be perfect. We're gonna make something here that later. Oh, don't kick yourself about it. Go with the experience, learn with the experience, and have fun. I remember the first time I taught a lesson. It was not the best lesson because I was starting. So learn with it, relax, or as people from California would say, chillax. I really needed to hear all your words. Thank you, Camila. Thank you. My dream is have students. I did all have. I say I'm really good, but okay, forget this but. The things you're not good at, try to sharpen them. Try to improve yourself, but go to the market. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Learn from the experience as well. I'm not saying that we shouldn't prepare ourselves, we shouldn't study, we shouldn't design our lessons. I'm just saying that don't wait for the perfect moment. This is down, please. Oh no, I can't because it's too many, but in case you have a question about a reference or a certain theory, a certain book, please write here, then I can go straight to the point with you. Go to the market means what? Start teaching. If you want to go to the private sector, even better, if you want to become a teacherpreneur, become a teacherpreneur. Start selling your services. Start having your private teachers. Start small and then grow with it. And then you take courses. But don't be afraid of the practice. Practice teaches a lot. Okay, so I think this is the end of the questions. Margaret, are you there?
Yeah.
Good. I think this is the end. So thank you. Thank you all for having me. It was a real pleasure.